This is the second dialogue between J. Krishnamurti and Radha Burnier in Schönried, 1984.
Start.
The mind always sees fragments. It sees things as different from each other. And we were speaking yesterday about sequence in many forms, which includes sequence in the shape of the past, the present, the future. This fragmenting of things has something to do with this sequence.
No, what do you mean? First of all, let's be clear. The mind and the brain.
Yes.
Right?
Mm.
This is a rather difficult subject. For me, the mind is something separate from the brain.
Yes.
The brain is that which is within the skull, and though I'm not a specialist in brain and all the rest of it, but his watch and style and so on. The brain is the center of all responses, biological, physiological, subjective responses.
Thought activity.
Yes, activity, coming, going.
So would you separate thought from mind?
Yes.
The world of thought is not mind.
No. So, when we talk about fragmentation, is not thought itself the cause of all fragmentation?
Yes.
Right? Thought itself, per se. So thought is fragmentation.
Yes.
And any activity born of thought must be fragmented.
And thought is the maker of time.
Leave time for the moment. Let's look at this. Is thought the very cause, very essence of fragmentation, breaking up? If it is, then it has broken up the whole of human existence. Right?
Not only human existence, everything.
It will be taking human existence,
Yes.
and from that you can work out
It creates the sense of duality, you and me and the other. And
therefore it is the cause of all division,
yes.
all fragmentation, and the opposites, the good and the bad, the evil and that which is right, and so on, so on, so on. The ideal and the present, the pursuit of the ideal.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole activity of thought inevitably must bring fragmentation. And one realizes this, therefore one says there must be integration.
Yes. Making a difference between fragmentation and integration.
Which is again another form of fragmentation. I don't have.
Yes, I understand. Does this mean that the entire brain structure is based on this fragmentation process?
It is right and left, as the scientists talk about. And Freudians and all those groups, all the analysts of the world, they have said the unconscious and the conscious. It's the whole activity of the human brain is to fragment.
That means the evolutionary process has led to this.
Yes. I and you, we and they, the whole division, geographical, national, religious, and so on. Right?
Mm.
Then what? Is there, can the brain bring about a wholeness?
How can the brain do that?
I mean, then what will bring about a sense of unity, a completeness? I believe philosophically, I've heard somebody talking about it, say the very idea of completeness is another form of fragmentation.
Or another thought, yes.
Is the holistic feeling outside of the brain? You follow?
Yes.
Or does it contain within the brain? You understand?
Mm-hmm. The brain is, after all, just an instrument.
Is a muscle. Is
Yes.
a kind of the blood goes into the organ and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I'm just asking this question: whether this holistic existence does it contain within the brain or outside of the brain? Which means, is there anything outside of the brain? You understand? Right? Good.
Yes.
There is the feeling of wholeness, the reality, not the imaginative, suggestive, wanting a wholeness, therefore it must be with me, you follow?
But if everything is inside the brain, that is a totally materialistic position.
Yes, but
then
first we must start with that, right? Can't reject that. We can't say, well, that's materialistic and therefore we are spiritual. To me that word spiritual is ugly word.
No, I'm not.
I know. So, first let's examine this thing. We see thought in itself is fragmentary, is a movement of fragmentation, is a movement that will inevitably divide, break up. So, having broken up, right, it creates its own laws.
Every ordinary person has had the experience of the thought activity being quiet for some time, and that is the time, for example, when one has a sense of beauty. Look at something.
Don't wait. I know beauty. We must talk about it slowly.
No, why I say that is, that seems to be connected with the absence of brain activity. So we can't say that everything is contained in the
We
brain.
must be very clear. So as not to caught in an illusion
Yes.
or in some kind of romantic aspiration and all the rest of it. But the brain is the center of all reactions and responses, right?
Yes.
Biological, subjective, and so on. And thought is its instrument. Right?
Thought is one of its reactions.
Thought is the central instrument of the brain. Right? I think so. I mean, wrong. And that thought itself is fragmentary.
It seems a curious way of putting it, because the brain is, after all, as you say, just a muscle. So we can't really say thought is an instrument of the brain.
No, I didn't say that. It's the center of it.
It's the center.
I mean, if I have a reaction,
Yes.
that reaction must be recognized.
Yes.
And the recognizing process is thought.
All the processes go on within the brain. The
That's
recording, the
That's all I'm
yes.
saying. All the process of action, reaction, recognition, remembrance, and the accumulated knowledge,
Connecting things together.
all
Yes.
associations and so on, so on, so on, is all in this extraordinary brain.
Yes.
Accumulated knowledge, relinquishing it, and inventing something new. And that this process is going on all the time. Now, having created fragmentation, then thought says, in that fragmentation, there must be law,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Criminal, all the rest of it. Property, law of what is right and what's wrong, morality.
Yes, it wants to make some sense out of all the bits.
Thought then organizes the fragmentation,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
And in the process of organization, it establishes certain rules. Certain forms of behavior, certain what you could call morality, virtue. So this whole process of living is contained in the brain. Sensitivity, all the biological, organic reactions and so on, so right? So integration cannot take place by thought.
No. Because it is itself the source
That's
of.
it.
Yes.
But yet human beings are doing that.
Mhm.
One realizes one is fragment, therefore I must become integrated.
Yes.
Now look at it, it's very interesting. The organization of fragmentation has its own laws, its own rules. Religion, for example, Catholic, Protestant, Hindu, Buddhism, and all of that. They have created their own laws.
Every person does it for himself.
And world organization creates its own law.
Yes.
And we think following those laws is correct, true, right?
Yes.
See the whole process of it. And when one suffers, when one has fear, or there is a sense of deep hurt, psychological, subjectively great hurt, all that is going on within the brain.
Yes, of course.
Hmm?
Yes.
And then thought says, I must not be hurt. I must have no fear. Right? Still
it is thought which is doing that, yes.
And where is then holistic way of life? Thought cannot possibly bring it, right?
Mhm.
Then what would? Holistic way of life, or the holistic, or the wholeness of life, must be beyond the brain.
That
Yes,
is only
the way of-
speculation.
Huh?
It is only speculation for a person who is just,
That's right.
yes, lost in this.
But don't let's speculate.
Hmm.
The fact is, whatever thought does, whatever,
Yes,
the gods, the angels, the beliefs, the ideals, they're all fragmentary processes. Right?
yes. It's image making, that's all. Millions
also-
of images.
I mean, think of the marvelous things thought has done. Surgery, medicine, community, and you know the rest. In extraordinary things thought has done. And the extraordinary things of cruelty, barbarism, wars, it is incredible capacity the brain has. Incredible.
Yes. They
To
also
build-
say,
to build, you understand, a submarine.
yes,
Submarine. Think of what has gone into it.
they also say it is the most flexible of computers
Computer.
because it can adjust to
Yes.
various
Better,
situations.
better, brain.
Mhm.
So we can't just say the brain is that and leave it like that. The brain has extraordinary capacity, faculty, right? And that faculty, that capacity, that drive has been directed in one direction, outwardly, technologically. Hmm? Right? And the brain sees that and says, we must also have subjective elan.
Well, it sees all that, and yet it realizes it is never free of its own tension, suffering. The other thing never solves this, the problems of relationship. So it is aware of that. The scientist has a marvelous perception
Partial perception.
of relationships.
Partial perception. Like an artist is partial perception. Like musicians, like artists, like scientists, the so-called religious people who give up their life for some idea, for some symbol. It's all partial.
But they penetrate somewhere below the surface all the same, but it's partial. Because when a scientist is aware through pure thinking of relationships in nature between various facts and forces, he is going much below the surface, and perhaps the artist does in his own way. But still it is fragmented.
So that's what I'm saying. the whole movement of thought in any direction is a movement towards breaking up, fragmentation. Right?
Mhm.
And as the brain has got infinite capacity, which is so, right?
Yes, it seems to
Infinite.
have, yes.
Going to the moon, investigating Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, and so on. It has got extraordinary capacity, faculty. It's infinite.
Which means unlimited energy also.
Yeah, of course. So, what's wrong with that?
No, there's nothing wrong with
No,
having.
no.
Mm.
That capacity, that infinite capacity, is that what is destroying the world?
The capacity cannot
No,
destroy.
no,
Is it belief in that capacity?
No, just listen to what I'm saying. The amazing capacity,
Yes.
externally, creating walls, creating marvelous instruments to destroy human beings, marvelous medicine, birth control. You follow? It has, outwardly it has such amazing, infinite faculty.
How can you divide it again and say
No,
outwardly it has the faculty? It has the faculty.
Yes, but that faculty expresses in these ways.
Yes, it is expressing itself in these
In
ways.
these destructive, positive, diabolical ways. Right?
It seems as if it always needs something outside.
It is doing that,
Yes.
right? If that same capacity turned inward, subjectively, will that also be a process of fragmentation? You follow what I'm trying to say? Hold on a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Outwardly, it is a fragmentary process.
Yes,
You can see nationalism,
Yes.
religion,
it's obvious.
obvious. Now, subjectively, it has also infinite capacity. It goes subjective. No, careful, don't miss what I'm saying. As it has infinite capacity externally, right? It can also have subjectively infinite capacity.
Yes, but it would not have.
Let me see that first. Right?
Yes, that is.
Both out and in.
Yes, the capacity is there. Well, it's only
So,
the direction. It
No,
is.
it turns the inward.
Mm.
It sees what it has done externally,
Yes.
outside the skin.
Mm-hmm.
Now it says, I'll go inwardly, subjectively.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And there too it will have immense capacity, energy.
But it doesn't seem to.
Wait, it has, I said it has the capacity.
Yes.
It may not want to do it, but it has got that capacity.
Yes.
If it has that capacity, then it says holistic way of living, I can find out.
Mm-hmm.
You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it is still the activity of the brain,
Yes.
of the
Yes,
of
I'm
thought
getting.
operating inwardly. I
Yes.
don't know if I'm
Yes, I get it now.
You got it?
Yes,
See what we are at now.
yes.
That is,
It's the same thing. Yes. Which says I will turn inside, but it's the same substance at all.
no, not only, no, the capacity, keep to the word
Capacity, yes.
Infinite capacity in the world of matter,
Yes,
in the world of existence,
yes.
outwardly. And that says, and now I've gone as far as I can, and I'll go further,
Mm-hmm.
but also I'll turn inwardly now.
Yes,
And I will have immense capacity.
it is really not turning inward at all.
It is, because before I didn't care about subjective. Now I'm turned back. I created submarines, I created war, they were men of war. You follow? I created telecommunication, computers, and the whole world.
No, I am asking if inward turning can be in the form of thought at all. Or is thought always
No,
on...
wait, see. So, it can turn inward, right? Right? It says, I've had the capacity there.
Mhm. It looks inward.
Thought says, now I'll turn inward.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I can go very far,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
That's what the religious people have done. You get
All the practices and
gone inside, gone subjectively, very deeply, saying, I must live an austere life, I must practice, I must devote, and you follow? That gives you extraordinary energy.
yes, because the energy is
You've
conserved.
got all the saints and all the Mother Teresa's of the world.
I doubt if Mother Teresa's have gone inwardly.
I'm saying that, tried to.
Yes. What is really going inward?
That's what I'm asking. That is thought doing it,
Mm.
as it's done the submarine, the computer, has thought done this, said, I'll go inward now. That is, I must control, I must fast, I
Meditate, pray.
must control my body. You follow that?
Yes.
I don't know if you realize the strength of all that.
No, one has seen it in...
I mean, you could see it in yourself.
Mm.
If you pursue that, you've got such an extraordinary austerity in you, therefore got amazing energy. Right? But that's also subjective division.
Yes, exactly, because it remains with the self.
No, that self has been transformed or covered over by austerity, by great discipline, control, never deviating from the center of your, you follow? It's all there. No. And the man is saying, God is whole, God is omnipresent, all powerful. I'm reaching Him. You follow? All the saints of the world have done There are miracles, the whole sequence. Thought, was reading one's thought, thought
Yes.
conference, healing, levitation, the whole thing comes.
Because there is
Power,
energy.
power.
Mm.
External power,
Mhm.
politics is power.
Yeah.
Here the inward power is much greater than that. I don't know if you follow.
Yes. But then it is all again centered around
That's the
the
thing.
God or the discovery of the self or something
Yes.
of that kind.
So-
So it is not holistic.
That's it. Then where is there the reality, not just imaginative, the truth of holistic way of life? Yes, sir.
What we have been saying seems to indicate that if there is an object that thought is pursuing, whatever the object may be, then it can't be holistic.
So, no. The attempt of the brain to be holistic will be divisive.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
So the holistic way of life is outside the brain.
Nothing it can do.
Not just wait, see the.
Yes.
Now just a minute, let's move to some. Is love outside the brain or within the brain? You follow me?
Mm.
Compassion. And that compassion which is intelligent, is it in the brain or outside? This brings in a rather interesting question. Suppose you're a devout Christian, anchored in the symbol of Jesus Christ, God, it's all anchored there. And you have so-called compassion quotes for the poor, for the suffering, spend your life there. Is that compassion? You understand my question? I'm anchored in the
Christian.
Christ tradition. Anchored. I know that's my safety. That's my, like a harbor, I'm anchored there. And I go out from that anchorage, out, to do some social.
Yes, I know. They do marvelous things, look after lepers.
Yes, admitted all that.
Mm.
Is that compassion?
It
Or
surely is.
compassion can only be when there is total freedom.
But isn't it some kind of a reflection of compassion?
Not a reflection. Couldn't. Love has no reflection.
Surely there is a difference between somebody who will sacrifice himself utterly to help a leper or something
Of
like
course,
that,
I've seen all that.
and the man who doesn't care.
We have done all that kind of thing.
Yes, I know.
This is not just for Christian tradition.
No.
The ancient people did it. It's a part of this whole religious, so-called compassionate spirit of man going out, helping. Right?
Yes.
And I question very seriously whether that is compassion at all.
Because the mind is still.
No, the brain is there,
The brain is-
anchored in a belief,
Yes.
in a faith, in attached to some tremendous traditional figure. You know this very well. You see it in Hinduism, Christianity.
But there are persons who have not been anchored in any religion, agnostics, for example, who have given everything to.
Right, but they are also, they believe. I don't believe. Right?
Yes, of course.
I'm anchored in that.
Mm.
I have no faith. I'm anchored in that sense of rejection of everything, but I'm anchored somewhere.
You know what a man like Bradlaugh did. He was an agnostic.
Yes, yes, Dr. Besant. Yes, I know. She eventually became a Hindu and all the rest. Don't go. So I'm just saying to myself, asking, is love be outside of the brain? Compassion. And that intelligence which is born of compassion, is it outside the brain? Right? I'm asking you. The intelligence within the brain is immense. To build a marvelous house. You follow?
If you make this division between...
No, I'm not making a division.
No.
It's a fact.
No, if you... intelligence within the brain and an intelligence outside the brain.
That's all.
Mm-hmm.
No, you must look at it. First of all, just look. You require tremendous intelligence to go to the moon.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Great intelligence to build a marvelous, intricate machinery like a computer.
Mm-hmm.
Extraordinary things, a submarine or a war machine or any telecommunication.
Yes, innumerable things.
No, wait. Right? And so, inwardly I say, compassion must express itself by going to the poor. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But that compassion is limited by my anchorage. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the brain, inside the brain, thought has created this intelligence. I must help, I must go to the moon, I must follow,
Yes.
there must be different instruments, and so on, so on. So on. That requires a great intelligence.
Are you saying that this so-called compassion is born of thought and therefore...
It's not compassion.
It's not compassion.
No.
Anything which takes
Of
birth
course,
from...
obviously,
Yes.
obviously.
So it has to arise somewhere else.
So I'm asking the question, is love outside the brain?
And what
Apart
has...
from sensation, apart from the pleasure of sex, apart from the pleasure of...
No, we dismiss all that.
So is love unrelated, just meet, to desire, to pleasure, to pain? If I'm hurt, it's not, if I'm
Hurt is the self, it is
and,
thought.
and
Yes.
so on. So love must be outside the brain.
Has it any relationship to the brain?
None. It can express through the thought,
Yes.
but thought can't express that.
No. Yeah.
Right?
Right. The fragment cannot...
But the whole can meet.
Yes.
Right? Truth cannot, fragmentary thought cannot meet truth. Right?
No, it cannot.
But truth can use thought, can No, I won't say you. Truth has a relationship to fragmentation. But the cause of fragmentation, which is thought, has no relationship to the other. Yes, that's right.
Does it mean that something of truth penetrates into certain types of fragmentary activity?
Yes, of course.
Like the perception of the scientist or of the
Partial.
artist.
Partial,
Yes.
partial.
In all the little insights which may come to a person. An insight is not...
You see, if there is such love, there is no fragmentation in one's life.
Mhm. What has this to do with time or the absence of time?
I mean, for love is not the product of thought and time.
No.
I've known you, I've known her, I've known X, Y, Z, and each has his own responsibility and so on. But if there is love, when there is love, it will meet it. I don't know. I don't think the scientists or the brain specialists would agree or see the fact something that's outside the brain. To them, everything is within the brain. Right?
Well, they don't accept anything that they can't prove, so their
I mean,
position...
after all, the pursuit of knowledge has been one of the greatest inquiry for it.
Yes.
And all the Vedas, all the Upanishads, the ancient books, it's always knowledge. Knowledge of the stars, the movement of the stars, knowledge of, like Galileo, the earth is moving around the sun. They have given their tremendous faculty to the acquisition of knowledge.
It has all played a role in human evolution.
Of course.
Otherwise, the brain wouldn't be what it is now.
So
it is the
the
pursuit
brain,
of knowledge.
So the brain is the product of knowledge,
Yes, it is the product of knowledge.
which means product of experience, knowledge, and the immense gathering of memory of all these things.
Every now and again, you have said, has something gone wrong?
Yes,
You know. What does that mean? Are you implying that in this pursuit of knowledge, which has excluded everything else, is some kind of a wrong path that the human brain has taken?
That's what I'm asking myself. Why has humanity, after 45, 50,000 years, be like this? You understand?
Yes, I know.
So monstrously ugly.
And why has it pursued knowledge while there is an innate desire, if one might use that word, in everything, which even scientists acknowledge, for relationship? They say that a human being who has no relationship breaks down. If he has no relationship at all, no sense of harmony with even a cat or a dog or something, he cannot survive.
Yeah,
So-
we've said that in different words, which is life is relationship.
So there is the instinct for relationship,
Of course.
but somehow the brain has left that on the side.
And also the brain has destroyed relationship. Because if I'm married, my wife is ambitious and pursues her ambition, and I am ambitious and I pursue my ambition in a totally different direction.
But when you say has something gone wrong, are you saying that the brain could have seen this much earlier before it has come to this point of destruction?
Yes.
That is, human evolution could have taken a different course.
Instead of going left, right, it has taken the left. I'm questioning, I don't know. Why should we, after 50,000 years, you understand?
Yeah.
With all the knowledge, experience, all the incidents, sorrow, pain, desire, come to this chaos, right? To this tremendous vulgarity, tremendous cruelty, and wars.
But it all goes on so mechanically that it almost seems deterministic, in the sense that every individual is conditioned by society and every individual is creating society. So there is this constant interaction during these millennia which has been pushing humanity along in a certain direction. Of course...
No, I'm asking what has gone wrong. We've had 1,000 gods, right?
Yes.
1,000 temples, or 1,000 churches. And we have said God is love, God is peace, God is omnipotent, all powerful, all knowing. You follow? Worship it. And we live as we do. You understand, Radha, it's rather interesting inquiry. After 1,000 millennia, why haven't we changed? We are still barbarians.
Yes, absolutely. We're getting worse, in fact.
Barbarians, what's happened to us? Why? It's not, I can understand, most primitive savage in the world. I can understand. He says, I know nothing except cruelty. Killing animals, eating, beating up my wife or beating my somebody. I understand that. But after thousands and thousands of years, we are like this. What's gone wrong? Why has man taken this turn instead of a different direction? Is it because he was primitive, therefore he has to conquer the outer? You follow? Conquer the earth, the forest, tame the animal. You follow? His movement has been outward.
Yes, the survival instinct has built up selfishness.
That may be it. But there must be people who must have said, for God's sake, this way we're going living must lead to destruction, all of us.
But people have said this.
But it has made no difference.
It has made no difference.
Minute difference. After all, the Buddha, the authentic sayings of what he is supposed to have said. What? Look at it. The priests are burning themselves, fighting, they're killing others. So, and Christians, they have talked of peace on earth, love. Probably Christians have destroyed more people than anybody else.
Yes. Nanak was one of the most peaceful and gentle of people.
Who?
Nanak.
Nanak, yes.
And the Muslims and Hindus started fighting the moment he died.
So I say to myself, what is wrong, what has gone wrong, what is, why has it ended up. In one direction we are so extraordinarily intelligent, right? In the other direction we are extraordinarily barbarous.
It seems too theoretical a question to say what has gone wrong.
No, I think something is not worked. I mean, after all, say I'm just born fairly so on. I don't want to hurt anybody. I wouldn't go out and kill anybody for no cause, for no country, etc. I wouldn't kill anybody. I wouldn't deliberately hurt you. I wouldn't deliberately say, that man is low, I am high. Well, I couldn't do it.
No, of course not.
Not, I'm evolved. It seems so obvious.
But to millions of people, it isn't.
Therefore, why? They're all educated now, more and more.
And since survival is becoming more difficult,
I don't think we want to survive. I don't think we want to have security. We talk about it. But we say, no, I got to be secure. I can't. I must put away all my nationality, all the rest of it, all this division. But we don't want security. We want to be violent. Look. So I say to myself, and I've asked this question to several scientists and biologists, why have we become like this? Each one is self-centered. Right?
Schönried and perhaps some other scientists seem to talk about the importance of quantity. Only if a certain number of human beings change, it will affect the consciousness.
I don't believe so. I believe one man changes fundamentally, which affects the consciousness. Obviously.
No,
one man like the Buddha affects the whole of Asia.
But humanity has gone on in the same old way.
Of course, but it has affected a little bit.
Yes.
And the Christians. And like evil effects, like Hitler is an evil man, it has affected the world.
But if there is a change in a certain number of people, the question is whether it will affect humanity in larger measure to bring about
that's
a real
wrong
turn.
question. That's an utterly wrong question.
That's what they seem to imply.
Because what's the point of my change if I can't affect 1,000 people? Therefore, I don't want to change. But if I say my concern is not affecting the majority or the whole of the world, my concern is change. I'll do something fundamentally to change myself. And it will affect or may not. But if you say, will it affect 1,000 people? I say, well, it's an utterly wrong and silly question. That's why, Radha, there are very few people in the world who say, look, I don't care. Truth is one thing that matters, right?
Yes.
Let's pursue that. See, there is such a thing. As a scientist do, they are trying to seek the cause of cancer, spending millions on it. I met the other day somebody, a doctor, He said they'll never find the cause of cancer. He was a doctor. And he said because cancer is merely an outward disease, part of the brain, psychological, subjective disease.
They have more and more subjective diseases of that kind. This Reader's Digest says that 1 in 10 Americans has a phobia of some kind.
Oh, you could see them. Naturally they would have it, living in that sense of enormous energy.
Now they have this way of breaking up kidney and bladder stones through certain sound currents or something like that. But if one thinks of the millions of animals they must have tortured before they arrived at that, and what that has done to the mind, one wonders whether a solution can be found that way. Because everything that is discovered seems to depend on cruelty.
And also on governments. You follow?
Yes.
On the governments will support this and government won't support that. You know it in what's happening in India. The governments don't care. Don't care about certain things, but they care about their own little area. You better stop, I think. Don't you? You agree?